Hi everyone and welcome back to the podcast. Every MBA journey is unique from preparing for competitive exams to finally converting a top B school. It's a path filled with challenges, learnings and growth. Today we have with us Hrushikesh who has successfully navigated this journey and converted Great Lakes Institute of Management. In this session we'll be talking about his preparation journey, his interview experience and key insights for aspirants targeting GLIM next year. So let's deep dive into it. Welcome to the channel, Rishikesh, and thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this session.
Yeah, hi everyone. Hi, thank you.
So let's start with the basic questions. Like, tell me about yourself. What was your background? Where you are from? Your family? What you studied?
So I'm originally from Hyderabad. I've lived for the past 10 years over here. Before that, I was outside of India. I spent 7 years outside. I've spent 4 years in Singapore, three in Saudi. It's a very mixed bag of an upbringing that I've had. And then post that, moved on. I got into MPC in 11th and 12th as per the norm, and then went on to BTech ECE. It was a very interesting time. I got just in before COVID. 2019 was when I started my BTech. So second year, third year, I passed on in COVID. But I was still into electronics at that time. And from there I moved on, got into my fourth year. I got many opportunities to move towards software in my placements. I didn't take them. I moved on, hoping for an electronics opportunity. So in 23, when I passed out in June, I started searching for jobs outside of my college. And then from there, I ended up landing an internship where I worked for around 10 months. It was a very unique experience. It was post fund, it was pre-launch. It was a very fun and a very exhilarating experience that I've had. Those 10 months was a whirlwind. I learned so much, not only in electronics, I learned so much management over there. That was my first exposure to management. You see what it takes to get a company off the ground, and it's such an intriguing thing. It's not easy. It's not normal. It's not a normal corporate job where you go 9 to 5 and come. So after that, I took a break because of an injury that I had. 1 year, I was on bed for like 2 3 months. I couldn't really move around much, so I moved on. I took some courses here and there instead of wasting time. And it was last year in 2025, around August, when I started my preparation for MBA.
So, can I ask you this question? Like, what was your actual profile, like 10th, 12th, and graduation scores?
If it's My 10th was 9.4 CBSE. My 12th MPC 77 percent around approximately. Also CBSE again. My BTech was an improvement considering comparing to my 11th and 12th. It was 8.97, 8.79. Sorry, it was 8.79 CGPA. So it's an up and down, but it was a pretty good profile.
Yeah, it's pretty good though. So, was MBA always the plan, or did something trigger it?
My actual plan, so going back to my naive BTech first year me, my plan back then, with the green-eyed naivety that, okay, we land placements, 2 years of work, then we'll go for an MTech, then an MBA, and then, there was a whole plan. But then COVID shook everything up, placements shook everything up. So my plan was to go for an MTech. But the whole job situations, they pushed me. I got into the internship, and then from there I decided, okay, let's just not wait for an MBA. Let's just do it now. Let's not push it forward, wait for 5 years when I'm 30 years old or something. Let's just do it now. Let's just go for it.
So, like, when did you started your preparation for MBA or CAT, and how did you decided that you're going for CAT, not ZAT and SNAP, or did you appeared for all the exams?
So I made my decision while I was working, but then due to the injury, I couldn't start my preparation. It was too late when I was able bodied to do it. So I went on. I spent 1 year doing some outside courses based on my interests. In 2025, late August is when mid August when I started my preparation for the exams. I was targeting CAT and SNAP, no other examinations, because I wanted to get into. I was going for CAT because it's CAT. Obviously, it is the flagship in terms of exams, if you're speaking. And then Symbiosis was a very good target for me. It was one of the main targets of mine. So Snap was the another obvious choice. Um, From there, I started the preparation. That and CMAT was never in my scope. I was never that keen on XLRI on the other colleges.
So, did you ever feel that you should start your CAT preparation earlier, not during your work ex time?
I A lot of times, yes, I should have started much earlier, considering my scores and considering the time I had. I had hardly 3 months, 4 months to prepare. What, August, September, and October. So 3, 4 months max. It was horrid, but it is what it is. So
So, like how you felt, because since you have 3 months or 4 months time period, so how competitive was the CAT prep environment among your peers and you? Like, how did you felt?
honestly, it was very stressful because I come from a very technical background, right? So for me, it's all numbers. I look at numbers, I solve the number, and I
Yeah.
finish it. I look at a diagram and I solve the diagram, and it's done. The problem is done. Management exams are very abstract. The questions are very abstract in comparison to what I'm used to solving. So the moment so what I did, I started my preparation with a mock. I wanted to know where I stand. I wanted to know the baseline. It was horrendous. I answered maybe what, three questions in quant. Wait, one question in quant, my first mock. My DLR was two questions and both of them were wrong. VARC has always been my strength, so I didn't really have to struggle much with it. VRC, I was always in the 80th, 90th percentile, even in my first, from since my first mock. Uh, so from there, well, that was a baseline, right? And then I started off, and I didn't take any coaching back then. I wanted to do everything on my own. I didn't have the time to, because the later it gets, the costlier the coachings get. I had
True,
to shell
true.
out 10K, 20K. So I just picked up mock exams from time, and then I started my preparation. All the studying was on my own. It was from YouTube. It was from books. It was from everywhere. I sat days. I spent like what, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, sitting, practicing, studying. So my quant was the weakest. DILR I could handle to some extent. VRC I was something I never really worried about a lot. But yeah,
So in that
still at the end
period
of the
of
day,
3 to 4 months that you mentioned, so how did like how many mocks in total you have given, and what was your strategy? Since you are mentioning that you straight away went for mocks instead of preparing initially, so how did it went?
um, after my first mock and understood my baseline, I decided, okay, let's ditch VRC preparation for the first 2 months or first 1.5 months. I need not touch it right now. It's good enough. And then I spent the first 3 weeks very targetedly on quants, right? I started off with arithmetics and I wrote a mock every other week. Every week I had a mock of my own. I kept giving mocks every other week, every weekend. I kept pushing. I had to see where I was going wrong. I started off with arithmetic. I knew I was losing in other topics. I was losing probability. I was losing quadratics. I was losing all of those. Mm, But because of the weightage, we all know how much of weightage arithmetic has. So
Yeah,
I wanted to push with that first. And honestly, there was a good level of improvement. Like I was at a point where you solving uh, a mathematical question was math. It was not quant for me, right? So I sat down like a 10th class student, wrote the whole page, one full page for each and every answer. From there, the 3 weeks that I spent, I was able to come to a level where I could solve half of the question in my head and then put the pen on the paper, right? So yeah, it's
that's really
very
nice
nice
though. Like
transformation.
quite impressive. So how did like your the other subject man, since QA is your weakest point, so how did you handle VARC and DLR?
VARC, I kept making silly mistakes because of my overconfidence back then. I kept missing the small cues that you have in the RCs. The others were fine. RCs and jumble sentences were the death of me. And then again, like I said, mocks. I had a friend who has been working on his MBA prep for the past 3 years, right? So he sat with me, he guided me through my quant prep, he guided me through my VRC prep. We both sat together days and nights because he's a working professional. So we used to start at 12 a.m. in the morning at night because that's when he was free, and we would spend 2 3 hours until 3 a.m. Sitting on Discord, sitting on laptop, and then working with each other. Uh, VRC. I targeted a very few set of questions that I did not know or couldn't solve, like jumbled sentences or fill in the blanks. I kept practicing. I did section. I gave sectionals. We both kept exchanging our mock providers, and that different sets of questions that both the providers had. And for DILR, honestly, at first it was a shocking experience, because those type of questions were new entirely to an engineer. As an engineer, you're not asked that, okay, this is the
Mm,
data, you can make a decision based on this. At least not until you at least have 5 to 7 years of experience, right? So
true.
coming off the ground as an engineer, I'm like, oh my God, I have to take so much data and I have to process so much, and I have so little time to do this. But the end of the day, I managed to find one or two topics of my strengths, like relationships. That's the easy one, obviously. And then you have networks. Networks was a topic that I absolutely nailed and loved it. It was, I could see the patterns. It was so yes. Started one topic after another, one topic and after another. It was very targeted and a very high-paced preparation that I did.
So how was the, like after all this, how was your D-Day experience went? Like you went for the examinations and then you felt, okay, this is something I've already prepared. Were you nervous or is it like, oh, I can do it?
No, no, no. Very nervous because see, the last competitive exam I wrote was late 2018 or early 2019. So that's what, and I wrote this in 2025. That's 6 years of a gap, right? After 6 years going back into competitive exam scale, and the first exam being CAT, it was terrifying. So walked into the center. I was trying to keep myself under control. And then this year's paper, we know how much of a curveball it was, right?
True.
And people who have given the past papers, they know it was a curveball. For someone who was the first experience, I had no idea what to do. The first 2 minutes, I was just, what is going on? What is this paper? Because I had slot two, and slot two had so many AI generated RCs. Oh my God, this year. It
So
was
this was
like,
your first attempt, right?
yeah,
Okay, it's nice.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. The first attempt, I was like, okay, my first was, I'm not gonna do this exam. I'm done. The first 5 minutes was, I'm gonna walk out. This is over. इस साल तो नहीं होगा मेरे से. I'm gonna walk out, right? But then at the same time, I remembered that, okay, we spent the last 3.5 months working. Let's see where it got me, right? And then I pushed,
True, true.
because the people around me started working. The guy on my left, on my right, they started writing down, they were working, and I'm like, okay, if people can solve it, then okay, we can get started. At least we can start.
Yeah, true.
And somehow I pushed through the paper.
That's why you have already converted and your journey seems successful, right? The decision that you made that day, like let's just go
It
for it,
might,
not to give
yeah,
up.
it was,
Okay.
yeah, probably.
So after your like how many mocks actually you have given like prior to CAT?
Um, Around, I know a lot of people are going to be shocked, but it was a very small number, around 10, maybe 10. A very small
Still with
number.
10 mocks, you have done a great job though. So what was your after all the examination and all got over, what was your first thing, like what was your first thought? Like what should I do next? Like generally aspirants feel puzzled, like okay, now the examination is done. Now we have to start preparing for GD and PIs or how we'll get the calls. Or did you start waiting for the scores to come first and then you'll decide it, ki, let's start with GDPI prep?
Honestly, I wanted to start my preparation. I'm so sorry, excuse me. Yeah. I wanted to start my GDPI preparation, but then I had my SNAP examinations throughout December, right? I had
Yeah.
all the three slots. Once I was done, I was like, okay, for the next, so it was done on 20th December, was the last exam. I was like, "ठीक है, next 10 days, I'm not touching a book, I'm not doing anything. I was trained my brain enough. I did a little traveling here and there, and after that, I came back in January. So the other time we got our results, right? We got the
Yeah.
response sheets and everything. So I was like, okay, very upset, not an upset, but not what I expected. I mean, it was better than I expected, but not what I was hoping for. I was hoping for at least a 90 plus, but then I knew I did not give a 90 plus performance, but then like still okay. The percentile I was like, okay, this was my percentile. Wow, nice. And then I wanted to start my GDPI prep, and I started researching, different providers that I could find and all of that.
Okay, so what was your CAT score at the time?
My percentile is 89.5.
Okay, that's
With
really nice though. And
my
how's the other
yeah,
exams went?
my Snap actually went pretty good too. I got a 93.7 percentile in Snap.
That's really nice. So, how did like when you started searching about the GDPIs and all trainings? So, when did you first hear about AY and what made you try it?
So since the starting of my MBA preparation, all of my research was done more on Reddit than on Google,
Okay.
right? Because Google is very biased. We all know that. It takes information from the websites, from sources. I want it
Yeah.
from people. So Reddit was my biggest source. It came down to two providers. It was PrepBee and one more provider. I don't remember the name exactly. So and then I sat down. I looked at the prices, what I was getting for the price. So I think the final decision to choose PrepBee was the bang for the buck that I got, the
Okay.
ROI, considering the how much I was paying and the value PrepBee was giving. PrepBee was the obvious choice.
So, how like did it actually made a measurable difference in terms of your confidence, in terms of your preparation, and what change you felt after joining
Yes,
PrepBee
because
AY?
see, at the end of the day, when you're preparing for an exam, it's just that it's an exam. It's a pen and a paper and a
True.
question that you have to solve. There's no one sitting in front of you, sweating you, judging you live, right? So after once I realized, and when I was going to Reddit, I came through so many transcripts, IIM transcripts, and I was like, oh my God, if they're gonna grill me like this, what am I going to do? Because I did not know anything about finance. I don't know anything about accounting. I don't know anything
True.
about any management subject. And they were all asking these course. They were asking quant questions in the interviews. I was like, okay, I cannot do this alone. I can't. I need practice. I need to know how is it going to go down. So I got into Prep B, and then I started off with, my mentor was very helpful in creating the whole HR answers. We
So you
sat
took
down.
up a one-on-one mentorship course, like where
No,
you get a
silver. It was an 8-on-1.
okay group
Yeah,
courses that.
yeah. Even still, he was able to spend time for on each of us. He helped each of us out as much as he could, and it was really helpful for all of us. I mean, we sat down for meetings at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 a.m. He was there for us, right? I got through
Any
the HR
negative
answers.
aspect you can mention if you felt there is a feedback for preppy that
Uh, I mean, I'll get to that, right? Once I'll
okay
get to that.
yeah sure.
There's very few, but there are there. So did all of this, and then the mock interviews. My first mock interview was a disaster again. They said, okay, you have the confidence, you can speak, but you have no content to speak. I'm like, yeah, I know I don't have any content to speak. That's what I wanted to know. What content I don't have. So they gave me a list. Okay, you have to brush up on this, on this, on this, on this. And then I spent the next 1 week preparing that, and then I gave another mock, and they were like, okay, this was good. It's an improvement. And yeah, so step by step, I gave like 3 mocks before my first interview, which was SIBM Bangalore in February. So back then, that was my target. I wanted to get into SIBM Bangalore the most, right? It was my end goal. It was my end game. And that was the first interview that I had. So I was terrified. I was like, okay, I only gave 3 mocks. I am utterly underprepared. And my biggest interview is first. And then I just had to do it. There was no other choice. I can't say, okay, can I push
True.
the interview? Can I not push the interview? I don't have the choice. So I went ahead, I gave the interview. My mentor went through the interview with me. We sat down, we went through the transcript, and I was like, okay, that was a very good interview. He said, you did really well. And I'm like, okay. I said, where can I improve? He gave me a few pointers. The immediate next day was my SIIB interview, and the immediate next day was my Great Lakes interview. It was all 6, 7, and 8, 3 consecutive days. So it was one very hectic weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And once Sunday was done, and I had meetings every night with my mentor. So Friday night, I had a meeting with my mentor. Saturday night and Sunday night, this is the transcript. This is how my interview went. This is what they asked. This is what I said. Um, Said, okay, you did good. It was, it was nice. It was an improvement over your marks. It was really well. And then after that, I had two more interviews in the starting of March. So I gave two more mocks again. I it was again a different experience because this time they grilled me. That they said, okay, you're going for an in-person. These two were so the previous three were online. The next two were going to be offline. So these mentors they said they're going to grill me. They grilled me on a level that I had never expected. So they asked so on a very they went on a nice rabbit hole of questions. So I was like, okay, people can ask me this question. I have to be prepared. So yeah, PrepBee gave me a lot of value. I don't think I don't know. I didn't really go talk to anyone personally with other providers, but PrepBee for me it worked, right? And it got me an amazing convert.
So, how many converts did you actually have, like in terms of colleges? Like, how many calls do you have? Did you have?
So I had five calls. I had SIBM Bangalore, SIIB Pune, Great Lakes. I had TAPME and KJ Somaya. So
Okay. So,
since
how
you
did you? Yeah.
no no go on go on.
Okay. So, like, since you have these many calls, so how was your actual interview went after all this preparation?
So SIBM Bangalore was very both the SIBM interviews were chill. Okay, even Great Lakes, they were very calm. They were respectful. The interviews were all the three interviews were very beautiful. And SIBM Bangalore's we had a GE. That was also a nice experience. Everyone was no, there was no fish market nonsense happening there. It was very nice. Where everyone was civil and went in a very proper way. The SIIB was a very different experience on the other hand, right? The interview was again smooth, it was nice. But the group discussion actually went on a little rougher side. We were 15 people in the group. You
Yeah.
know how big groups get in group
True.
discussions.
True.
So that, and then Great Lakes has no group discussions, they have only an interview. So, and that went smooth, I should say, because it was nice. It was stress. So all the three online interviews, no one was stressing me out. Everyone were calm. Everyone were, like hi, chill. It's okay. We're all chill here. But even the professors were like, it's okay. We're all friends. We're all just chatting. Don't worry. Just calm. Talk normally. And then I had my two offline interviews. Right. KJ, there was no group discussion again. Only an interview. There, a little bit of intimidation was happening. I fumbled a little bit because of the intimidation, right? Because I was the last candidate for the panel. So they have that thing where they're tired, but they're still trying to evaluate you. And I am tired because I was waiting. It was nice. And then Top Me was again a nice group discussion. And the interview went pretty well actually with Top Me also. So I'm waiting on the results for Top Me and KJ. So let's see.
So, how did you like? What is that one thing which helped you decided like which college to pursue at this point?
Um, So I looked at right. Top Me, I was shortlisted for MBA marketing, and the others were all general MBAs. SIIB was international business, and Great Lakes was the PGTM 2 year course. I wa- my career goal at this moment is to stick with tech. I want to be on a tech aligned or a tech adjacent role.
Yeah.
So looking back at all the colleges that I have, we all know Top Me is very BFSI focused.
Yes.
Even if I'm on a marketing specialization, I'll end up with a BFSI firm at the end of the day. Um, KJ is again very marketing forward. Same with SIBM Bangalore. And SIB, honestly, I applied on a whim. So international business in India, we know the scope.
True.
So in all of this, and the alignment that Great Lakes has with tech. So once I've done my interviews, I spend a lot of time on Reddit. I spend a lot of time with PrepBee mentors who help me connect to alum and seniors and all. After talking with them and all, I realized, okay, if I bring it down to my career goal, Great Lakes is actually my best option. Considering I want to be tech adjacent, and Great Lakes is the most tech focused placement cell that we have in my calls and converts.
So
So
now that
those
you
three
have
were there.
converted, what are you planning to do like before day one, before actually walking into that B school? And what are you most nervous about? Like that you wanted to pre-prep about something, since you are going with a tech background and you're going to go into fields where you have to learn about economics, finance, and HR of the marketing. So, what was the one thing that making you more nervous? And did you started any preparation prior to that?
Actually, I did. I spent the last 3 4 days. I sat down with people I know who are MBA grads. I know a few people who are CAs. I sat down. I'm like, okay, I'm going towards something I have no clue about. Help me out. Like, what do I need to prepare for, right? And it all came
True.
down to you need to learn the basics of finance and accounting and all of that stuff because I have no knowledge. So yeah, I'm working on that right now.
So,
After
anyone,
which,
yeah,
yeah, go on, go on, go on.
you can mention.
Yeah, so after which, like the most basic skill, Excel. I'm
True.
working on that. I plan to work on my basics of finance and accounting, followed by Excel, and followed by a few certifications that I was suggested to us by the Great Lakes alum, which was a nice meeting. Again, thanks to PrepBee. We sat down, it was a full 1.5 hour discussion that we had. So he gave us a few pointers, key, prepare on this, do that, and all of that. So working on them right now.
So, since all of this are done, and first of all, congratulations to for the
Thank you.
Great Lakes Institute of Management entrance. So, last one thing, since we are wrapping this up, any one advice for the aspirants who are going to prepare for CAT next year and who are planning to go, targeting Great Lakes Institute of Management?
uh, to be on the most cliched, give the most cliched answer is just keep doing it. Is the whole idea of do not give up. It works, right? The statement do not give up works. But at the end of the day, just sitting and working is not sufficient. You have to know what you are working on. So I say get in touch with people. That's what helped me the most. My preparation started and it gave the fruits that it gave because I sat with a person who has prepared for the exam for the past 2 3 years, right? Who has been in this field for a while. So the insights that you get from someone who has done the prep is a very different insight you can get from a teacher or even if you sit on a class, that's a very different environment, right? You're a student,
True,
there's a
true,
teacher, and they're teaching you. And then the moment it's someone on an equal level, it's a friend of yours, and then he's teaching you, he knows they know then what it takes that you have learned, right? Because I spent 4 years with that friend in BTech. We spent
true.
4 years preparing for our exams in BTech. He knows, okay, I can't explain it to him in a way, in this way, I have to explain it in that way. And something that I helped him out with, even I know how to help him particularly. So that level of relationship that you have with a person who's preparing with you, that is the key for passing, all the competitive exams.
That's
As
really
for
insightful too.
cracking the
So it's
Great
very true
Lakes
as well.
in, yeah, exactly. And based on everything that I've heard from grads and alum, peer-based learning is the core of MBA, apparently.
True.
So you better
Very
start
true.
early.
This is very true. So, any one word for your whole journey, starting from a UG candidate who is in doing a workex and working and then decided for CAT and got into GLIM. So, any one word for your whole journey, your success story.
It was unexpected and exhilarating, is all I can say.
That's really nice. So we are wrapping up. Thank you so much, Rushikesh, for sharing your honest
Thank you
journey
for
and your
having me.
honest experience with us. Your experience will definitely going to help and inspire many aspirants who are aiming for Great Lakes Institute of Management. To everyone who are going to watch, remember that consistency, clarity, and confidence can make all the difference in your MBA journey, and with the guidance of right people in your life. So if you found this session helpful, don't forget to like and share it with people who require it. And for more such success stories and preparation guidance, we'll see you in the next session. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Bye.
Rishikesh.